So hello everyone and welcome to the Generative AI for Executives session. Today we're very excited to tell you about our thoughts on how generative AI should be adopted by executives, what are the challenges, opportunities, and how to get started. With you, we're going to be two presenters today. So my amazing colleague Nivedita, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Rihanna. Hello, everyone. I'm Nivedita Kumari. I'm a data analytics customer engineer here at Google Cloud, and I'm really excited to be here and share where are we seeing trends with generative AI.
And my name is Rihanna Msadik. I am an AI ML customer engineer at Google Cloud in Toronto, and I'm more than happy to tell you about the top generative AI use cases, but also the most common challenges that companies are facing today when implementing this technology. So in today's agenda, we're going to discuss the following topics. First of all, we're going to talk about the top generative AI use cases adopted in 2023 and 2024. After that, we will be discussing the current challenges with generative AI and why some people are scared from implementing this technology. After that, we will be discussing the opportunities of this technology and the return on investment of generative AI. Finally, we will share with you a step-by-step guide on how to get started with generative AI. So, let's get started. This is the most common and frequent question I receive with my customers and mainly the executives when they ask me about the use cases that other businesses are implementing. What is happening in the market, Rihanna? What do you think is being implemented today? And we researched two surveys for you guys today, and we're going to share with you what we found out. So there are mainly 5 use cases that have been implemented mainly in 2023, and then there are a top 10 list of use cases that have been implemented in 2024. The number 1 use case is customer service bots, and it's 73% of the executives who attended the Next 23 Leader Circle said that they're implementing this. So let me explain it briefly. Imagine you're a retail store or you're a financial institution and you'd like to provide the best customer service possible for your customers. So for that, having a generative AI bot allows you to provide them with a 24/7 support, but also the ability of ask any question they have in mind. They can even do some purchases. They can even do some changing their addresses or in their orders. They can even have share their feedbacks, and they don't have to wait to talk to an agent from 9 to 5. So this appears to be very efficient compared to the traditional AI technologies where you go and you build a chatbot with a flow. If a user says hi, you say hi. If a user say how are you, you say I'm good. If a user say this, you say that. So with generative AI customer service bots, you can simply upload, let's say, a list of 100 or 1,000 questions, and the chatbot or the model is going to ingest all of this in literally a few hours and will be able to provide you with the best answers to your users' questions. And number 2, there's software development. Because generative AI models are now capable of writing code, debugging code, editing code, and even testing your code. So many of the companies we work with, they have been implementing Gemini to support their developers in developing their softwares. After that, there's a very common use case, which is general efficiency, or we call it also back office processes, and I call it automation. I personally find this is my favorite because I have seen a lot of impact in increasing efficiency for professionals when they automate manual, tedious, repetitive, tiring tasks. So think about extracting insights from documents, or extracting specific values, or analyzing job applications, but not necessarily making a decision, but seeing if the person had a degree or the person has how many years of experience. So extracting this information can help their recruiters or the professionals or the technicians or even the researchers in extracting insights from documents. And it can even be extraction from images or videos. Finally, we do have data analysis, and with the advancements of generative AI models today, we're able to ask questions to our data. You don't have to be a data analytics specialist or engineer for you to go and get insights from your data. You don't have to master SQL queries. You can just ask in a natural language, what is the number of people residing in that city? Or if I am broker and I would like to understand the number of houses existing in a certain area, or the number of houses or apartments that have been sold in a specific area, and what is the highest price or the lowest price of condos in a specific geographic area, I can simply write down the question, and we do have tools for that with a looker that Nivedita can tell you more about, and you get specific answers from your data. Finally, content creation. Content creation is what we are seeing the most on social media, and this reflects more what marketing teams are able to do, and it speed up the process of creating the content. So imagine you're working on generating product descriptions for 1,000 products. Instead of you going and writing down the description manually, you can just ask the model to generate description based on the features or the criteria of each product you have, and you just validate. You can also customize marketing emails. You can personalize any descriptions or blog post with the help of generative AI models. So all of these use cases now exist and they are adopted in the industry on top of brainstorming for executives, and also product development and support in general efficiency, but also productivity, to write emails, to create formulas on spreadsheet, on developing slides, and even generating videos. Generative AI is widely used in the world today, but these are the most common use cases. Now that we learned about the use cases, there's still a concern. Many people are afraid of leveraging generative AI for different reasons. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges and the suggested solutions. The first challenge that we have been seeing is what we call confabulation, which means generating an output that will look very realistic, but in reality is incorrect, doesn't make any sense, or is completely fabricated. The most common word or term for that is also called hallucinations. And these hallucinations can range from minor inaccuracies to entirely invented narratives that will be presented by the model in a way that will seem very confident, so people would believe it. Even though if you are a subject matter expert and you ask a question about a topic and you know your topic very well, you would know that the answer sometimes would not make any sense. The impact of this is that this will undermine the trust in the generated content, which will make it unreliable for many applications such as research, journalism, decision making, and science. So it can also spread misinformation, and it will also be able to reinforce any harmful stereotypes if we do not carefully test it and evaluate it. One of the mitigation strategies that we recommend to our customers is, if you are going to deploy a model for your end users or your customers, make sure that you use your information to ground the model. Make sure that you're also evaluating the performance of the model before moving to production. All these practices, Nivedita and myself and other AI, ML, and data CEs at Google Cloud are able to support you, or if you're using other models, you will find the documentation online on how to evaluate the quality of your model. But make sure that you also give context to your model so that it does not answer a question with what it has been trained on, but instead leverage your data to answer the questions. The second concern that we have been seeing is privacy concerns, which means exposing sensitive data, even if it's not, sometimes you don't intend to expose it, but you implement a model in a way that it can be some sensitive, confidential, or private information can be exposed. Now, think about it this way. You do have a pre-trained model. You want to provide it to your customers. or you want to provide it for your internal employees. You use a confidential report to help tune this model. So a little bit of this report content can be later showed up in the response of the model when someone prompted. But imagine if this person who prompts the model should not have access to that information. The consequence is that this person is going to be exposed to information they are not supposed to. For customers, companies, organizations that deal with private information, PII or PHII, will face a very strict or dangerous consequences. And that's why it's very important to be very clear on the privacy policies of any generative AI system you're using. So if you're tuning the model on confidential data and you know that there's just one category of people who are allowed to look at this content, then make sure that only these users will use this version of the model. Otherwise, make sure that you only fine tune on data that you would like to be exposed to all the users. On top of the confabulations and privacy concerns, there's also a risk with some large language models in violating the intellectual property rights. So many of the models we find in the market, they have been trained on enormous amounts of text. And some of this text is still covered by copyright or other IP rights. So that's why it's important, especially in image generation. We have seen so many lawsuits of companies who have been training their models on images that own the copyrights of other companies. That's why it's important for us to pick the right model and avoid these models that might put you in risk. But then after that, you need to leverage models that also provide indemnification, because you don't want to be also in trouble leveraging these models. So leverage models that provide indemnification, or enterprises that provide indemnification processes, but also if you can provide digital watermarks for generated images, or put a note, PS, not all the content generated by this chatbot is very accurate, or make sure that you give a note to your users that there can be inaccurate information in the output. Finally, bias. So we have seen a lot of articles talking about the bias existing in certain output generated by the model, and this is coming from the data that the models has been trained on. But today we do have techniques that can evaluate the models on biases towards strangers, races, or others. So it's very important to ensure that you pick the right model, but most importantly, evaluate, because you can get an alert if the model is biased so that you can change it, tune it, or make sure that it's not biased anymore by changing the context and making sure that you give instructions for the model to not be biased. Finally, this is really important, and this is for everyone here listening to us. If you are an enterprise, your needs are not the same as consumers. If you're a consumer like me, when I'm at home and I'm just using these generative AI models to plan a 3-day trip to Italy or Patagonia, I don't have the same needs as an enterprise. So always be careful as an enterprise on, first, is the model or the platform I'm leveraging, is it controlling my data in a way where my data is encrypted and the model I'm using is not trained on my data. Second, if I am using a model for 100,000 people, it's not the same as I'm using a model for a million users a day. The cost can grow exponentially. So it's also important to take a look at the cost of each model I am leveraging. And finally, I want to ensure that the results are accurate and that the data that my users are prompting is secure. So as an advice in general, consumers would go and use applications with subscription or a license, but enterprises will go and leverage cloud environments where you have a more sophisticated tool and platform to make sure that it's secure, your data is controlled, and your costs are managed. I hope I didn't scare you a lot. So now I'll let you enjoy the part where we're talking about opportunities and return on investment with my wonderful colleague, Nivedita.
Thank you, Rihanna. So now let's let's talk about the opportunities and return on investment of using generative AI. So, as Rihanna also mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, that the presentation is sourced via two surveys. So, there was a global survey conducted with 2,500 senior leaders of global enterprises by Google Cloud and National Research Group on the usage of generative AI, and the result of the survey made it very clear that generative AI is an essential tool for staying competitive in this fast challenging market. So, organizations are realizing their ROI on their on their Gen AI investments within a year. So, when you look at the results of this survey, you'll find out that 3 out of 4 organizations are seeing ROI from their generative AI investments. And organizations where C-level sponsorships are more likely, where they have C-level sponsorships, they are more likely to see an ROI from digital commerce and enhanced experiences or back office processes compared to organizations where they do have Gen AI solutions in production but no C-level sponsorship. Talking about annual revenue increase, 86% of the organizations using generative AI in production are seeing a revenue growth of 6% or more. Gen AI can be a powerful revenue generator. However, to achieve the best results, you should adopt a strategic approach of integrating generative AI into your core operations and invest in the necessary resources to support its long term growth. Gen AI and the entire space in artificial intelligence, machine learning is moving fast. So, despite its recent arrival within enterprises, organizations have seen ROI within just few months of launching the Gen AI solutions into production. And also because of the fact that it is super easy to implement, it provides you with an accelerated path from time to value. So, when we talk about accelerated time to value, 84% of organizations successfully transformed their Gen AI use case ideas into production within just few months. So this accelerated time to value for Gen AI projects presents a significant opportunity. Those were some of the financial benefits that organizations have seen with generative AI. Now, talking about the business benefits of generative AI, the first that comes to everyone's minds is definitely productivity and business growth. So, when we talk about productivity, Gen AI helps in driving significant productivity improvements, particularly in IT processes. And it is regardless of how long the Gen AI solution has been up and running within an organization. We have seen that 45% of the organizations have improved employee productivity and has at least doubled as a result of having Gen AI solutions in production. Talking about business growth, Gen AI is driving significant business growth by improving either lead generation, customer acquisition, or ultimately revenue for many organizations. And we would take a look at so many different use cases where Gen AI could be implemented, and it would help you improve your or get more business or grow your business later into the presentation. So, 63% of the organizations have experienced a business growth as a result of implementing Gen AI solutions into their production systems, or either internal or external. Moving on to the user experience piece. 85% of the organizations that report an improved user experience have seen increased user engagement because they have a better UI, their customers are engaging more, and 80% reports improved user satisfaction due to Gen AI. As one of the use cases that Rihanna mentions in the beginning was implementing bot, which is definitely provides a increased user satisfaction or user engagement through your website. Across industries, Gen AI is improving the user experience, which in turn boosts user engagement and satisfaction. Last but not the least is definitely the most important aspect, which is security. 56% of the organizations reported improvements to their security posture due to generative AI. Gen AI can enhance an organization's security posture by helping improve threat identification, and reducing the response times for the security threats. And these are like very crucial when you look at these numbers. Whichever business or whichever domain your business or industry are you part of, like productivity, business growth, having a customer satisfaction, and having a secure solution or a platform is extremely important. Those were few KPIs of tracking the business and the financial effectiveness of the Gen AI solution. There are other ways as well how you can like track the effectiveness of the Gen AI solutions. So it could be like what is the accuracy, the productivity, what is the customer satisfaction rate, how much cost saving that Gen AI solution attributed to, what was the turnaround time, or like was the solution scalable, can you scale it from one domain to other domain or from one use case to the other, was it compliant with all the regulations that you have in your industry, human in the loop matrices, because once you implement a solution you do want to make sure that it is giving you the result that you're looking for, and you want to have a human in the loop present in the very beginning stages. What was the training time and the cost, the error rate? So, all these KPIs are very important to track in order to understand how effective the Gen AI solution is. Now, we talked about the top five use cases, but when you think of and uh, implementing Gen AI solutions across various industries, there are so many internal and external use cases where this could be implemented. So here is a quick snapshot of Gen AI use cases across various industries. So you can implement it within, if you are a media or entertainment, if you are in media and entertainment domain, or a retail or a financial services. You could also be look at some of the use cases where it can help a supply chain and logistics company, a gaming, a manufacturing, or an automotive industry. So there are so many different ways Gen AI has been helping customers over the past couple of years, and there are many more use cases and many more business growth opportunities coming in future. Now that we talked about like multiple use cases where across various industries and how Gen AI can help, uh, let's focus on like how we can get started and what are the key steps in launching your generative AI use case. I'd keep it super brief, but there are like 10 key steps when it comes to launching your first Gen AI use case. The first would be to identify a specific domain. Like choose a domain in your company that could benefit from generative AI. It could be customer service. If you are a healthcare professional, it could be a patient intake process, or a corporate action, or a marketing content. So if you are from a marketing or a media house. So there are so many different domains or different use cases where you can implement a Gen AI solution. So we first need to narrow down and identify a specific domain. Then in step two, once you narrow down the specific domain, within the same domain, there are multiple personas who can leverage or benefit from the Gen AI solution. We need to identify or select a persona. So determine the job category or function within the chosen domain that you want to make more productive. Now that we have the domain, the persona, now we need the right data sources. So step three would be to determine the data sources, and the persona needs to be productive. By starting off with the right data to feed into and fine tune the models, your organization would be able to mitigate hallucinations and enhance the explainability of AI. This was also one of the challenges that Rihanna talked about earlier about models not being able to give you the right answer. So that's definitely that the models are hallucinating, and we want to provide them with the right data and to be able to fine tune them accordingly to the use case that you're looking to use the Gen AI solution. Next, we need to make a small tiger team, maybe 2 or 3 individuals, and that should include people from both business and the technology space. Now we have the domain, we have the persona, we have the data, we have the team. The next would be to like define clear intentions, objectives, and the output that we are trying to achieve. We have to ensure that we have a human in the loop to oversee the first use cases and provide their oversight, who have the business knowledge or the results or the solutions we are looking for through the Gen AI model. Step 6 would be to design prompts together with the Tiger team. Work collaboratively with the Tiger team to design prompts that will guide the generative AI model's responses. Uh, you can use Gen AI models as it is, but in order to get the best result, there are prompting techniques, and you need to design the prompts in a way that it is suitable for the use case and the domain that where you are wanting to leverage the Gen AI solution. So it's extremely important to design the prompts and guide the Gen AI model for the response you are looking for. So now you have the prompt, you are likely getting the results that you are expecting from the Gen AI model. The next would be like, uh, how would you share those models with your users? We need to have a user interface. So the step 7 would be to create a user-friendly experience where you can run the generative AI model in production for the chosen personas use case. So if it was for internal customer service team, you want to have a UI where your internal customer service team can come in and use the model in production. Step 8 would be to expand it to additional individuals. Say in the first go, we had like 5 to 10 folks who were using the model in production. We want to test it regressively and maybe expand it to other individuals and make sure it's working as expected. Step 9, after everything goes well, you have iterated over your model and you're still getting the results that you were expecting. Step 9 would be to test it with additional personas, and it's time to build a language model operations plan. So what this plan would do is it would ensure that you are able to productionalize your model well, and you are able to monitor the results of the AI model's output, and ensure that it functions safely and effectively. So what does an ML like a language model operations plan consist of? It would include things like having the right infrastructure setup, deployment and monitoring guidelines, what should be the output and what should be the quality of the output. The next things that you can include in that plan is like regular audits and evaluation for expansion in further, if you want to expand that solution from one team to the other or from one domain to the other domain. So you can likely share the learnings and the mistakes with other team as well. Then definitely having human in the loop, making sure the solution that you have is secure and compliant to your specific domain, to all the regulatory compliance requirements that your domain and business has. Next, also, it's also a good idea to have incident response and remediation steps in there. So this consists of like beginning to the end, like any ML model that should be implemented or should be a part of production systems. Finally, step 10 would be to expand usage to additional use cases within the same domain. Now you have implemented it for one domain and one use case. Next would be you have all the steps from 1 to 9 ready. You have your learnings, you know the plan, you know the domain, you know how to fine tune the model, have the right data set. You can, after implementing one, likely step would be to implement it for all the other use cases in the same domain, and get more productivity benefit and automation benefit out of the AI solutions. So these were the steps that needs to be followed to get started with your first Gen AI use case. Thank you for attending the session. We hope it was helpful for you in understanding how organizations are leveraging generative AI right now, what are some of the use cases organizations are focused on, and how to get started with building your first Gen AI solution. If you do have any questions, feel free to post it in the chat. And thank you.